Welcome to Sri Lanka. In this quick video, I'll take you to Yala Safari, then Tangalle, and then Mirissa, all on the south coast of the country. We visited in March 2025. That's the end of the good season. You don't want to visit at the time of the monsoon. Here we are early morning at Yala Safari. This is the line of jeeps waiting to get in. We got picked up at 4:30 a.m. That's the way to do it apparently, because everyone wants to be the first one in. We paid 1,800 rupees each, about 44 British pounds. That includes everything, the pickup, the entrance, the lunch, and the guide. There are several companies selling those excursions, but I don't think there's any point trying to negotiate any more than that. Here we are in the safari. It looks very busy, but you can still see some wild animals. Here are some baby elephants. It's nice to see them really in the wild. Not in a so-called elephant orphanage, which is actually like a zoo, as we visited earlier in the trip. Although it was fairly busy, we did see quite a few animals. We saw loads of water buffaloes, deers, crocodiles, elephants, peacocks, eagles, birds. Here are the deers running away. And let me show you the crocodiles. Here they are. We did see a leopard as well. I didn't really catch it on camera because it was a bit far away. We had to look with the binoculars, but there are some in there. The driving of some of the guides can be a bit scary. Now let me show you my favorite animal. This one. That is called a ruby mongoose. They came to say hello. He's missing a bit of his tail. He might have had a little fight or accident there. I wonder if they ever stand up to look like Timon and Pumbaa. They eat rats and snakes, and they snack on scorpions apparently. That is the spot where we stopped for lunch. Now, in terms of animal sightings, I don't know how it compares to different safaris in Sri Lanka. There are other national parks, but this one is known for having a lot of leopards. Now look, the elephant is putting his trunk into the jeep. They must be a bit scared in there.
When he wants, he can easily put the car on the side.
Now I feel much better. With this data. Corre, corre! Run! I don't want him here. Please. No, ni foto ni hostias. Nacho, agáchate.
¿Qué viene? Se viene para acá.
Run!
No.
But the car there.
Mira que me voy corriendo.
Wow.
Ay. Run! Drive!
No.
Yo no quiero que me meta la trompa en el coche,
Qué
tío.
guay.
¿Pero qué dices? Que igual me coge.
¿Qué va? Qué bueno.
Lo estáis grabando, ¿no?
Yo sí.
Luego me lo pasáis.
He did not touch us. Our driver drove away. Anyway, this is full of crocodiles as well. And here are some more spotted deers. Anyway, time to get to Tangalle. Here we are. From Yala to Tangalle, you could do it by bus, or you could take a private ride as well. We ended up having a free ride. We were picked up by a random guy on the road. People are extremely friendly in Sri Lanka. When they see two ladies on the side of the road, sometimes they just give you a free ride. We were not even hitchhiking or anything, just waiting. Now in Tangalle, we stayed by the Rekawa Lagoon, which was nice, and we only had 2 nights around here, but it was very, very quiet. If I had to do it again, I'll probably stay on the other side of the city, a bit more east. The beach over here was really nice, but on the day we visited, it was very wavy. A bit too much, really. Beautiful sunset, though. Now, if you happen to be there around full moon, you might be able to spot some turtles nesting at night. Personally, I don't have the patience nor the eyesight. I don't see anything in the dark. But my friends spent hours on the beach at night waiting for the turtles. Some of the volunteers are there as well to collect the eggs and rebury them to protect them from humans and dogs. Now let me show you a banana flower. You can eat it as well, I think. Not tried though. Oh, and a little friend. And another friend, a peacock. The next morning we rented a pair of scooters. 2,005 rupees a day for a scooter. And then we could go and explore all the other beaches. This is Goyamboka Beach. Those beaches to the east were actually much more comfortable to go for a swim. It was a bit wavy, but enjoyable waves. The waves next to where we stayed were just way too strong for a proper swim. Now, this one is a lovely beach called Silent Beach. Having mopeds for the day, that was so convenient, because we got to see quite a few different beaches through the day. Silent Beach was one of my favorites though. Now let me take you to Humanwaya Blue Hole. It is just a gap in the rocks where you wait for a big wave to splash around. Ooh. But they charge you to get there. I mean, it was a bit unimpressive if you ask me. Ooh, jackfruits. Big ones. Now this is, I believe, Ranlankashni Paradise Beach. Although it looks like some people also refer to it as Jungle Beach. I think there are a few jungle beaches around here. That's also a beautiful beach and very quiet as well. And there were a lot of hermit crabs. I called them Bernards. Because in French they are called Bernards the hermit.
Hi Bernard! Hi Bernard! Bye!
This was the way in and out of the beach. That's probably why it's called Jungle Beach. Depending where you park, some of the locals might try to ask you for money to keep the scooters. You obviously don't need anyone to keep the scooters, but you know. We did give them a little something, but not as much as they asked. You want to be careful on the roads though. There are 3,000 fatalities a year on the streets of Sri Lanka. 38,000 crashes. I think 3,000 fatalities, it's about the same number as France, for example. But the population of France is 3 times bigger, and also they have motorways. Anyway, those are turtle nests over here. You can see they've been protected by the locals and the volunteers to try to protect them from the dogs and the humans. So this is Rekawa Beach. Beautiful long strip of pristine white sand, kilometers of beach, but a bit too wavy for a swim. Those are more turtle nests over here. So those have been reburied by the volunteers. It is the volunteers from the Wildlife Turtle Project, Kapuenwala. A lot of people are waiting because apparently at sunset they often release some of the turtles. Not on the day we were there though. Although we've seen that later on in Mirissa. Time to jump on a bus to go down to Mirissa. Remember not to sit right behind the driver because that is reserved for clergy. So if you have a monk coming on the bus, you'd have to give up your seat. And some of the drivers are a bit rough, so you probably want to be seated. Anyway, here we are in Mirissa. You'll see a lot of those tiny little graveyards. It's like a lot of people bury their local dead almost in their back gardens. So this is the main beach in Mirissa. It is lovely but very busy, very touristy, quite expensive for Sri Lankan standards. It is probably the most famous touristy destination in the south of Sri Lanka. The town was very badly damaged through the tsunami in 2004. 14 people lost their lives over here. Anyway, if you go by the coast guards, you'll find those little turtle nests. It is again volunteers that have reburied the eggs. I think they have 7 different species of turtles in Sri Lanka. It takes between 45 and 60 days for an egg to hatch. Anyway, we saw a sign saying they'll be releasing some turtles tonight, so we'll come back in a moment to see that happen. For now, let's follow the beach and walk towards Coconut Tree Hill. Here on the main beach of Mirissa, it's not very deep, so you could probably go with kids and stuff. Although you've got to be careful, like everywhere, but sometimes it can be a bit wavy. Apparently in 2023, the Coast Guards have saved and rescued 1 French and 2 Russians. I think a lot of people get into difficulties in the water over here because when I went on the French government website to check for my visa, the French government was telling me to be careful because apparently every so often French people die in the sea. They get caught in the currents. So yeah, all this part of Sri Lanka was quite damaged by the tsunami in 2004. 35,000 people died in Sri Lanka. But we'll talk about that in my next video. For now, Coconut Tree Hill. This is the spot. This is the most Instagrammed spot in the country. Number 2 is the 9 Arches Bridge in Ella. So when you get there, it's like a giant photo shoot, really. Everyone is taking selfies and videos. Still well worth the visit, though. Anyway, let's go back to the Coast Guards to see the turtles hatching. So those volunteers are gonna dig up some of the eggs, the one they know are about ready, and they'll pick them up. They'll place the babies in the buckets for now, and then they'll release them into the sea. As the turtles start swimming, they sometimes swim for 72 hours, would you believe? Apparently the temperature of the sand changes the sex of the turtle. Global warming could be an issue then. Turtles live about 100 years, and they usually reproduce about the age of 20. Only 1 in 1,000 makes it to that age. That's why they are in great danger, and it's amazing to have volunteers like this taking care of them. Apparently, thanks to some kind of magnetism, they come back to nest at the same place. The same place where they were born themselves. Anyway, here is time for the race. Here they go. The little baby turtles are going into the sea. Some of them are clearly faster than others. Some of them needed a little push from some of the volunteers. There were 63 that hatched that day. They've all made it into the sea. Although some of the last ones were a bit far behind, but they've made it eventually. I hope they survive until the age of reproduction, at least. So if you were in Mirissa and you wanted to witness that, make sure you go to the Coast Guard and check the sign or ask if they were gonna do it that day and what time. Now back into town. And more little grave sites. They are everywhere. Almost every street corner you'll find a few graves. Sometimes, literally, a few graves, or just the one, like this one here by the side of the road. It doesn't look like there's much regulation in terms of where you can bury your loved ones. Look, there's a primate friend up there on the cable. Now, when someone passes away, they also put those little signs on the pillars to inform everyone from the local community. There are peacocks in the graveyard. Now, when it comes to temples, sometimes I get confused. I'm not even sure which religion they are, because sometimes you see some lovely Hindu representation, like here we just saw Ganesha, the Hindu elephant god. Yet in a second, in front of the temple, we'll see a Buddhism flag. I did try to ask, but I didn't really get a straight answer. If anyone from Sri Lanka is watching this video, do let me know in the comments why you've got this mix of religions. So this is still the same temple. Beautiful Buddha. And then outside, a Buddhism flag. So I'm a bit confused because you see two different religions worshipping in the same temple. It's interesting. Anyway, back on the main road now. We only had dinners in town. There are some beautiful restaurants on the beach, but they're quite expensive for Sri Lankan standards. This is a roti and the other one was a kutu. Before to get into a restaurant, I would check the price of the kutu. Some of the kutus on the beach area were 2,000 rupees. Too much. That's what the fishermen had just fished. Those skinny little fisherman boats, they cannot even sit down inside. They stand and sit on the edge. Those are the early riser, the early morning surfers. Mirissa is also a great location for surfing. A bit further west you have some long, wavy beaches where you can try surf if you'd like. Very affordable, 400 rupees for half an hour to rent a surfboard. Oh, look, they've got an Aldi supermarket. Anyway, we rented some mopeds that day. This is mine, it's actually a motorcycle, with the motor of a scooter. And we went to explore all the beaches further to the west. This is one of the main surfing spots. Actually, if you wanted to try surfing for the very first time, you probably want to do it early morning, as it's very quiet in the sea. Now, those are those famous fishermen on a stick. I'm only filming from the distance because they would charge you to take a photo or a video with them. There are some nice beaches further to the west as well. They can be a bit wavy, but still manageable. They are very popular with surfers. You'll actually see some of those scooters with metal bars on the edge. That is to be able to carry a surfboard as you ride. We did not find any good snorkeling spots around here. It was too wavy for snorkeling anyway. Time for a freshly grilled seafood lunch. What a treat! About 2,000 rupees each. Oh yeah, you might have a few surprised guests on the beach. Now back to the surfing beach, where my friend went surfing for a bit. It's a bit busy at this time. If I was doing it for the first time, I'd rather do it in the morning. At least I know I wouldn't be hurting anyone with my board. And now back into Mirissa for our last evening for a little sunset on the beach. This is Secret Beach, Mirissa. If you try to access it on a scooter, do not stop at the first bike parks. There are dozens of people trying to charge you to park your moped. You might as well go all the way till the last one. Now I hope you enjoyed that little video about Mirissa, Tangalle and Yala. If you happen to be a local, and if you have any suggestions for future travelers, you can pop them in the comments. This is the beach in the evening. Lovely restaurants down there, but a bit pricier than they would be inland. Now, before we go, let me show you a little detail that made me smile. This is the bathroom at our little hotel, $7 a night. And look, you cannot lock yourself in. Fair enough. Usually you share a hotel room with someone close to you anyway, but you can lock someone else inside. Why? We had a couple of bathrooms like that in the country. Don't know why. Thanks for watching. Bye!